Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the DFS Army Killshot podcast. I'm Kyle Marley. With me is Dan Levy, host of Half the Battle. We're here to break down this UFC Vegas 49 card from a DraftKings angle, maybe hit on a couple bets along the way as well. If you guys got any questions, just hit us up in chat. But let's get right into it. How you feeling today, Dan?
Feeling great, man. Some exciting fights on the card tomorrow. Last week we had Jamal Hill, and could he have not made a bigger statement in that main event than he did? Even if you picked him to win by knockout, just that knockout he got, I think this dude's heading right to the top 5.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be fighting for some title shots here real soon. But yeah, last week was good. Nice, profitable week all around. So hopefully we can continue that this week. Let's start off with the first fight of the night. We got Carlos Hernandez minus 145 against Victor Alto Murano plus 125. We got two debuters here, both off the Contender Series. How do you see this fight going down?
Yeah, man. So Carlos Hernandez, he had an incredible fight on the Contender Series, man. Him and Daniel Bairez, this kid from Spain, they just went back and forth for 3 straight rounds. It really came down to the wire. Whereas his opponent, Victor Alto Murano, he's definitely a very tough guy, but his win on Contender Series was actually kind of controversial because everyone thought he lost the first 2 rounds. Then he won the third. So that was actually the first time in Contender Series history where Dana signed both the winner and the loser from a Contender Series fight. So based on what I've seen, I think Alto Murano gives up too much. He gives up the takedowns too easy. And subbing people off your back in the UFC is going to be kind of tough to do for the most part. Maybe he'll catch someone here and there. So I think Carlos Hernandez has the more well-rounded approach here. He's just, got to be careful. This kid, Alto Murano, is definitely scrappy, but I think it's priced accordingly. And I think you could roster these guys just in the sense that they could have one of these 3-round Latin wars where both guys land over 100 strikes and mix in takedowns and stuff like that. Possibly a finish on either side, but my pick is Carlos Hernandez here.
Yeah, I feel that. I was more impressed really with everything about Hernandez, and I wasn't too impressed with Alto Murano. I liked the high pace that he was fighting at in that Contender Series, but I thought Hernandez had the better overall striking. Alto Murano's just kind of a little bit weird. His stance is weird. Movement is weird. I wasn't too impressed with it. I think Hernandez looked like he hit harder. And then on the ground, Alto Murano had terrible takedown defense. Maybe he's a better offensive wrestler, but I expect Hernandez to be better on the ground as well. So I favor Hernandez in this fight. It was even money a couple days ago, basically. Now it's getting back to right about where it should be, minus 145 on Hernandez. So he's going to be my preferred play of the two. I think this fight overall will go overlooked, so I don't hate either side of it. But for me, it'll be Hernandez really in all formats is the guy that I'm looking to target. And then if I'm doing MME, making 150 lineups, I'm cool sprinkling in some Alto Murano, but I doubt that I'll be using him with my hand builds. I would much rather just pay the $200 more to get to Hernandez or just avoid the fight completely. I don't think we have to target this fight. It's minus 150 to go to a decision. And I don't know that either one of these guys is going to score too heavily in a decision win. So I'll probably have more fights without this fight than with it. But if I'm using one of these guys, it's going to be Hernandez. And I think he can win all 3 rounds. All right, next one on the card, we got Remis Brahimage taking this fight on short notice. Now he's a 4-1 favorite against Michael Gilmore plus 300. Go ahead and break this one down for me.
This should be a good spot for Remis to come out here, take this guy down in the first round and submit him. That's most likely what's going to happen. There's just concerns about, Remis in these fights where he goes super hard, balls to the wall, and sometimes can fatigue down the stretch. But, I think this fight is more so of a case where, as long as he's not too, demoralized from that Court McGee fight and this and that, he should bounce back here, man. He should take this guy down and submit him. So, give me Brahimage.
Yeah, I feel like this is just the perfect matchup for him to get back on track. Gilmore didn't really earn this roster spot. This is more of a favor for him for stepping up on short notice on Tough. He got dominated there, finished in the first round, I believe. Then he got a spot on the finale, got finished, I believe, in the second round there by a gassed Petrosky. I think Brahimage is more dangerous than Peros, whatever his name is that I just said. And I feel like a first-round submission is just the clear path to victory here. 95 plus points for Brahimage. The scoring, if it gets out of that first round, I would definitely worry for Brahimage, and he's probably a bad play if that happens. But I just think if you're picking a round and a method from any fighter on this card, I feel like Brahimage round 1 is the most agreeable, easiest, lock on the card. He will slow down, I guess, as the fight goes on, but I don't know that Gilmore can even capitalize that. If this goes to a decision, I still favor Brahimage. It's just that we won't want him on DraftKings if that's the case. But give me him round 1 domination. If this fight hits the ground one time, I think it's over shortly afterwards. I just don't think Gilmore has anything to offer off of his back. And then I think the only way Gilmore scores well in this fight is with a knockout. I personally am not going to play that. I'm going to X Gilmore out of my player pool, but I have him as the lowest owned fighter on the entire card. So if you're looking for a reason to play him, I guess that would be it. Just ownership purposes, fading Brahimage, but I'll be on the Brahimage side personally. Next one, we got Jonathan Martinez. He's now up to minus 275 against Alejandro Perez plus 220. Man, I thought it was a little wide at like minus 230. Now it's getting wider, but I do agree with Martinez kind of winning this fight. How do you see it going down?
Yeah, I mean, that line, all it comes down to is if Martinez knocks him out or not, right? Like if Martinez knocks him out, he's going to look minus 270, but if not, and it hits the scorecards, I mean, Martinez has been weaseled before. I mean, you saw that Andre Ewell fight. Perez has a knack for going out there and winning these close, controversial fights. So, at these odds, if you want to take a gamble, I don't blame you. But I think the more finishing upside is with Martinez. I'll pick him to win, but betting window, most likely. I mean, the reason I say most likely dog or pass is because, if this is that 3-round competitive fight, that's where I think Alejandro could possibly steal it. But there's also a chance that, a head kick, a knee, something big from Martinez lands and puts him out, So, yeah, give me Martinez, but not a fan of the line either.
Yeah, I think Martinez just a little bit better everywhere, a little faster on the feet, probably hits a little harder as well. But I do expect a 15-minute striking match here. We got minus 150 that the fight goes to a decision. I could see it being even higher than that. I think we do get all 3 rounds to work with. And neither one of these guys is high volume striker. They're really not going to be going for too many takedowns here. So I don't think there is a high ceiling from either one of these guys if we do see all 3 rounds here. I think we're relying on a knockout either way for 100+ points. And I would just rather take my shots elsewhere. With Martinez, he's just priced so highly that I like everyone around his salary more than him. So I think he's the easiest fade in the pay-ups. And then on the Perez side, he has like 3 or 4 wins where he scored 52 or less DraftKings points. Like, that's just not going to cut it. So Perez is probably going to end up being a fade for me. But I would rather X Martinez out of my player pool. And Perez, I'll keep him in there just because he's an underdog. He's somewhat live to win this fight. So I don't hate him on DraftKings because he is cheap. But I'm in my hand builds, I'm definitely not going to be making it a priority to put him in. I'd rather sprinkle in a handful of other underdogs. But if I'm making 150 lineups, I think Perez can make his way into that, whereas I'll probably have 0 Martinez and just hope that he doesn't get the knockout. Perez has been knocked down 5 times in his UFC career, though. Martinez will be low owned, so if you're looking for a reason to play him, that's it.
How many of those excuse me, how many of those were in the Sukumtut fight? Do you remember?
Sukumtut got him down 3 times.
Okay, yeah. Dude, and just for everyone listening, Alejandro still won that fight. That's what I'm trying to get to here. But it's one of those things though, Kyle Marley, how long can you do that for? You know what I mean? How long can you just weasel split decisions? Because you even see a guy like Cody Stamann now slowly, everybody's kind of figured him out, kind of washing out of the top 15, and Alejandro Perez out of the top, 30 or whatever. So yeah, I think that's probably why Martinez is lined where he is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've ever picked Perez. Maybe I probably picked him over Eduardo, but other than that, man, I've been off Perez most of his career. But I've never been too sold on Martinez either. I just feel like this is a good matchup for him. Perez, I mean, I don't think he was ever really on the way up, ever going to be some sort of contender, but I feel like he's closer to on his way out than he is anything like that. Next one on the card, we got a fun one. This is a fight that was rebooked from a few weeks ago. Almost an even line now. We got Fareez Ziem minus 115 against Terrence McKinney minus 105 now. I really like McKinney on the DraftKings side of this one, but I don't feel confident that he gets the win. I just think he has the higher ceiling in this fight. But how do you see the fight playing out?
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you're coming from because I mean, this kid likes to go out there, get those first round finishes, so he's super exciting. But Ziam, I think that if he's not out of there early, he can take over late. So I'm gonna lean with Ziam there. Hey, can you give me 1 second? I'm gonna grab some water real quick.
All right, yeah, sounds good. And then yeah, I'm on the McKinney side because I mean this guy's got 11 fights, 10 of them are first round finishes. The other one is a third round submission. So that ceiling right there, just in the finishes, is what we like to see, especially from an underdog on DraftKings. There's not too many underdogs with that sort of ceiling on this card. So I like that. And I also think he's the guy that has a chance to score 10x or more in a decision win. I think he's higher paced than Ziem on the feet, and I think he is the one that would be looking to wrestle in this fight. I think that would be smart of him to do so. Most people do go out there and try and wrestle Ziem because he is a really good striker. He's got solid defense, and I would agree that the longer this fight goes, the more Ziem probably starts to take over. But Ziem's not going to be out there looking to wrestle. He does not strike at a high pace. So with him, I think we're really relying on the knockout for him to have any chance at 100+ points here. And even if he gets a decision win, I mean, he might not even 10x his what is it, $8,400 or $8,300 salary on this price tag. So Ziem's going to be more of a fade for me. And then McKinney is somebody who I really like to target just for the ceiling. I think he's playable in cash games as well, just because he doesn't have the lowest floor. I don't think Ziem's going to go out there and just starch him in the first round. So I don't hate the floor on McKinney, but he's not super cheap either. So I don't think we have to play him in cash games. But GPPs is where I really like him. I think he can go out there, put up 100+ points in this fight, and the ceiling is what I'm looking to target in GPPs. If he loses, then I'm not going to win anyways. But if he wins, then I think we have a shot at that optimal lineup.
Yeah, like I could see Ziam being better than he's shown, man. Because like, if you think about it, like, you know, Don Madge is a dude that's had like 150 kickboxing matches, and then he goes out there trying to wrestle Ziam. So, and Ziam's only like 22, 23. So I think we could be seeing leaps once he starts to feel comfortable in there. And then we got to see what McKinney can do past the first round. But there is that upside with McKinney in the first round. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a Ziam knockout either. So yeah, it's going to be a good fight.
Yeah, I could definitely see Ziem knocking him out. I just don't know that would come in the first round. If it does, then he's on the optimal lineup. But if it comes after the first round, I think he might not even make the optimal lineup, especially the longer this fight goes. But I do think he's very live to win the fight. And I even think I picked Ziem the first time they were matched up. It's just such a close fight that I switched my pick on this one. All right, next one on the card. We got another one that I do like because I think it probably goes a little bit overlooked on DraftKings. We got Josie and Nunes minus 220 against Ramona Pascual plus 180. Break this one down for me, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, it's the power of Nunes versus the size of Pascual, I think. Pascual looks pretty big for the weight class. You know, Nunes only 5'1", but Nunes has fought better competition. I mean, in her only loss, she lost to Tyler Santos. And you take note when these chicks get these one-punch knockouts. So I think as long as she doesn't get laid on, she probably wins this fight.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen, anyways, Nunes is the better striker here, but her power is really just what's going to separate her from the other fighters in this division. She has legitimate knockout power, and I think she could get that again in this fight. She is like minus 125 inside the distance, I think, last time I looked. So that's a pretty solid line. Yeah, minus 125 inside the distance is pretty solid. And I think all the ownership will go to the fighters priced above her in the 9K range. So I think Nunes is very in play for GPPs, go a little bit overweight to her there. But I would not really want to play her in cash games because I just don't trust her as an all-around fighter. I mean, her striking I don't think is great. It's just that she's got big-time power. I think it's better than what I've seen anyways from Ramona. But Nunes off her back is really not pretty, and I think that's Ramona's path to victory in this fight. If you can go out there, get one takedown, you could probably keep top control for the whole round on Nunes, and that's probably her game plan because Nunes is so dangerous on the feet here. So I don't hate Pascual either, and I feel like for my hand builds, I'm probably going to be leaning more to her because I would rather target, Islam and Remis and the 9K guys which will lead me more to Pascual lineups. But for my 150, I feel like Nunes is somebody that I'll be overweight to, kind of let the domination station control it and all. But just a fight overall that I plan on having in around half of my lineups. Maybe overweight to both sides. We'll see. All right, next one on the card. We got, where are we at here? Ignacio Bahamondes, minus 195 against Rong Zhu, plus 165. I saw Zhu missed weight by like 5 pounds earlier. Talk to me about this fight.
Yeah, listen, Ignacio's got the volume, and he's a very, very well-rounded striker. It's just about him feeling comfortable in there, and I'm fading the weight miss, man. I'm fading the weight miss. So give me Ignacio here. Zhu Rong's talented. I just think he's 21. He's figuring things out right now. He's not quite ready, but he will be one day. Just not Saturday night. So give me Ignacio to put up 90 to 100 points.
I think that's quite a bit of points. I think he'll probably need a knockout to get there. He did it in his last fight. I believe he had 104, 105 DraftKings points. I do like his striking. I think he's the better striker in this matchup. I like his pace. He's a high-paced striker, and he could get the knockout. It's just that I don't know that he can put up, 90 to 100 points in a decision win unless he's getting some knockdowns, because I would expect Rong Zhu to go out there looking for some takedowns, and that's his path to victory here. I think he is the one with the ceiling in this fight, because if he's going to win, I would expect it to mainly come on the ground. He scored 146 DraftKings points in his last fight. I don't expect anything near that here, but that's just his path to victory is through the ground, and you're going to have to land takedowns in each round for that to happen. Going to need to rack up control time. He is active on the ground, so maybe he get a finish there or just rack up those little strikes that count now. So I'm okay with the Rong Zhu side because he's so cheap. He's $7,200 on DraftKings. I'm going to end up overweight to him, and I expect him to be popular. But I am picking Bahamondes to win the fight. I think that he could probably stuff more takedowns than he is spending time on his back, and I think that he's going to clearly win the striking minutes here, just pushing forward, landing at a high pace, and he could hurt Rong Zhu along the way as well. I'd rather pay up for the other 9K guys, which is going to put me underweight to Bahamondes. And I don't even hate Xing him out of lineups, but if you think he's going to score 90 to 100 points, you probably should not be doing that. I'll be more so on the Rong Zhu side of this fight just because he's an underdog. Even though I'm picking him to lose, I feel like he's the guy with the ceiling to target in this one. All right. I think we lost Dan for the rest of this one, I believe. So I'm going to take over to end this one here. All right, we got next one on the card. We got Gregory Rodriguez, minus 155 against Armin Petrosian, plus 135. This is actually one of my favorite GPP fights on the card. I'm looking forward to this one. We got minus 450 that the fight does not go to a decision. That's one of the highest on the card, if not the highest. So I like targeting both sides of this fight, and I'm cool with being overweight to both sides as well. But my preferred play is going to be Gregory Rodriguez. I just think he's the better fighter. Anywhere this fight goes, I feel like he's the better striker. And my issue with him is his durability and his cardio. I mean, we saw him gassing out in the second round of his last fight, and he still ended up getting the knockout. But I just feel like this would not go well in this fight if he does start gassing out. But with Petrosian, he's just a striker only, and I think he's going to have a lot of trouble on the ground in this fight. He's been taken down in basically every one of his fights so far, and I think Rodriguez can do a lot of work in top control on this one. So I think Rodriguez is in play for not only a submission, but I think he can get the knockout as well. We have seen Petrosian knocked out by a lesser caliber fighter than Rodriguez, so I'm going to be pretty heavy on the Rodriguez side of this one, but I also want my Petrosian lineups. I think he's in play for a knockout in any round in this fight, and if he can get a knockout early in this fight, then he's probably on that optimal lineup. So this is going to be one of my favorite fights on the card for GPPs. I wouldn't want to target it in cash games, but it'll be one that's in the majority of my entire lineups for GPPs here. All right, next one on the card, we got Jian Kim, minus 160 against Priscilla Cachoeira, plus 140. This is one I'm just not too interested in for DraftKings. I am picking Kim to get the win. I just think she's going to be the higher volume striker here, the one that's pushing forward. Maybe not in the first round. I think the first round is where Cachoeira would have her most success while she's fresh. But the longer this fight goes, the more I think it goes into Kim's favor. I just don't see her scoring a lot on DraftKings. Even if she is putting up high volumes here, she's probably scoring, around 10x, if not if not less, in a decision win. And I think it's going to be hard for her to finish Cachoeira. She probably won't be going out there looking for takedowns, so it's going to be like a 15-minute striking match where Kim just doesn't have a very high ceiling. So I'm not looking to target her too much. But on the Cachoeira side, if she's going to win, I think knockout's always her best path to victory here. She has real power. She throws heavy haymakers in that first round. And if she can get a first-round knockout, then she's on the optimal lineup. So I'm cool with Cachoeira. She is my preferred play in this match. But since I'm picking Kim to win, I'm just not going to be too heavy on any underdogs. Well, I'm not going to be all in on any underdogs. I'm just going to be sprinkling the high-ceiling underdogs into my lineup. And I think Cachoeira is one of those high-ceiling underdogs who could hit 100+. So that's what I'm looking to target. But give me Kim to win probably 2 rounds on the scorecards and take a decision here where she scores maybe, 75 points, something like that. All right. Next one on the card, we got, oh man, is that what we're up to now? We're Misha Serkinov -120 against Wellington Turman +100. This is another good GPP fight to target. One I probably want to avoid in cash games, but we do have -200 that the fight does not go to a decision, and both these guys could finish the fight. So I like targeting both sides. I'm not against going overweight to both sides of this fight, but my preferred play is going to be Turman. Misha's somebody I've been on basically his whole career. I've picked him in the majority of his fights, including the last 2, but I thought he looked awful in his last 2 fights. So it's just hard for me to see him, getting better at this point. And Turman's only 25 years old. He is the one that's going to be getting better each fight, where we know what we're going to get from Serkinov if he even shows up at his best. But I have a lot of questions about Serkinov's chin. I think Turman could put him away on the feet. I thought his hands looked pretty good in his last fight. I didn't hate the volume. I don't expect this to be a high volume fight, but I think either one of them could get knocked out. Turman has a questionable chin as well. Serkinov has power. And then both these guys are primarily grapplers, so we could see either one of them have success on the ground. I just think it's a decent fight to target because they're priced right there in the mid-range, and we don't have to have 100 points from these guys, but they both have the capability of getting there. I'll be more so on the Turman side, but this is one where I would just kind of let the domination station take over in GPPs. Over at DFS Army, we have the optimizer where you could set up to a 300 lineups. We got Gino in chat right now. He's been working on that a lot, putting out articles on different back testing that he's been doing. So if you haven't tried us out yet, you should go over to dfsarmy.com. Sign up with promo code SLEEVELESS. That'll save you 10% every month you stick around. I think you guys will like it. We have great tools and coaches for all sports. And NASCAR is just now starting. And I think that's probably our biggest edge sport right now. So check us out. I think you like it. Hit us up in Discord if you do. All right, but yeah, give me Turman. I think he knocks out Serkinov in that fight. And he will be one of the underdogs that I'm looking to target, probably more so than the field. All right, main event on this one. We got Islam Makhachev -900 against Bobby Green +600. I just think this is a one-way traffic right here. I just see Islam kind of mopping the floor with Bobby Green. Bobby's taking this fight on short notice. I mean, even on a full camp, I think you're struggling big time to fight Islam, no matter who you are. I think this is a future champion here. And on short notice, man, I think it's just an easy game plan for Islam. Go out there, get takedowns immediately. Don't spend time on the feet. That's where Bobby Green wants it to be. And he landed a ton of strikes in his last fight. He looked great. He set a personal record anyways, for landed strikes, significant strikes. That's just not the fight that he's going to get in this one. He's not going to be out there having even one round of striking, I would guess. I think Islam's going to try and take him down every chance that he gets, and I think he locks up a submission along the way. I think you lock him into cash games. That's where you're starting this week. I wouldn't even stack the two. I'm just going Islam only in cash. And I think he's a decent, lock in GPPs as well with -900. His whole game is going to be to go out there and get takedowns. We got his inside the distance line is -250. That's the highest on the card. I just think he's the best play on the card by far. I want as much as I can get of him. But if I don't have him in a lineup, it's going to be because I faded the fight and I took the people around him, and maybe, Remis or a fight that I have not got to yet because it's not on here for some reason with Armand Tarukian. I think he's in play as well. Nunes as well. So I don't think we have to have Islam. Maybe one of those or all those people get first round finishes and just knock him off the optimal lineup by scoring more points than him. But I think he's just a much easier win with just as high of a ceiling, and really the highest ceiling on the card with 5 rounds to work with here. So yeah, Islam's my favorite play on the entire card. If I have 100, I am going to do 150 lineups this week. I probably won't lock him in, but it's going to be Bobby Green X'd out of my lineups. And I probably want at least 70% Makhachev if we're being honest. But let me go find that fight that I missed. We got Armand Tarukian against Joel Alvarez. I don't know why they don't have the odds for that on this page here, but I think Armand is around minus 220, Alvarez plus 180, something like that. This is definitely a fight that I like for GPPs. Armand is just a killer on the ground. I think he can get takedowns whenever he wants them in this fight. I think he's a great striker as well. Got power. He could finish it on the feet. So even in a decision, I think Armand can go out there, put up 100+ points here, possibly land 10 takedowns in this fight. And he's priced right below Remis. So I think he'll be a little bit lower owned than Remis and definitely lower owned than Islam. So he's a decent pivot from either one of those guys. I think he will also be lower owned because I see a lot of people on Alvarez this week. And I mean, it makes sense. I'm cool with Alvarez as well. All of this guy's wins are by finish. If he's going to win this fight, it's going to be a finish as well. He's got 19 wins, all of them finishes. And I just don't see how he's the minute winner in this fight. But I think he could go out there, get a knockout. He could get a submission as well. And all of his UFC wins, he scored over 101, 97 of them in 2, and I believe 92 in another one. That's what you can expect if he's going to get the win here as well. It's just I think the field's going to be on him, possibly over 20% here. And I don't know that I want to get leverage to that. I definitely don't want to fade this guy, but I'll probably be underweight to the field on Alvarez, and I would rather target the other side with Armand, especially if he's going to go overlooked with people targeting the guys above him. I'm cool with targeting Armand really in all formats, but more so GPPs because I think you do target Islam's a lock there. And if you're paying up for 2, I would rather pay up for Remis over Armand in GPP. I mean, in cash games, but GPP, I want to be overweight for sure on Armand. And I'm not against being overweight to Alvarez if you just want to load up on this fight. I think that's solid, but I see Armand taking this one. I think he's going to win all 3 rounds on the scorecards and it's probably score 100 points. So I'm glad I didn't forget that one and we got to talk about it. But let me end with a kill shot. I don't think I got one from Dan. But for me, I'm going to go ahead and take Wellington Turman on this one, plus 100. He isn't technically an underdog, but I think he can get a knockout in any round here. So he's going to be my kill shot. I got one from Eric, the cash game assassin earlier, and he went with Ramona Pascual at plus 180. I think she goes even more overlooked in this fight, so I don't hate that as well. And honestly, hopefully we both hit because I think I'll have a decent amount of exposure to both those fighters. Sorry that Dan had to leave. He had some connection issues, but I will see you guys next week. Hopefully everyone listening has a good week. See some helmets at the top of the leaderboard, but go win something, guys. Peace out.